We would now like to welcome Franklin Garcia, the U.S. Representative for the District of Columbia, to read a proclamation from the Council of the District of Columbia and U.S. Shadow Congressional Resolution.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Franklin Garcia, and I am the U.S. Shadow Representative for the District of Columbia. And on behalf of our Mayor, the Honorable Muriel Bowser, the Chairman of our Council, Phil Mendelson, the City Council, and the Statewide Delegation, Congressional Delegation, we extend our most sincere condolences to the families and friends of Ms. Providencia Paredes. I am honored to be here to honor a most distinguished Dominican American and Washingtonian by presenting two resolutions. The first one is a resolution from our District of Columbia Statewide Congressional Delegation. And this resolution has been signed by both of our senators, Senators Paul Strauss and Senator Michael Brown and myself. This is the first kind of resolution like this that the Congressional Delegation has done. So we're very honored that we should do this to honor such a distinguished Washingtonian. The second resolution that we are going to present today is from the DC City Council. This resolution was introduced by at-large member Anita Bonds and signed on by all council members. And the official ceremony or resolution will take place next Tuesday at a public hearing. And so everybody obviously is working to attend. We will be filming it and distributing it through our networks for everybody to continue to celebrate the life of Ms. Providencia Paredes. I'm going to have our Legislative Council come up, Ms. Theodora Brown, and read our resolution. Thank you, Theo.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Council of the District of Columbia resolution presented by Councilmember Anita Bonds. Providencia Paredes Recognition Resolution of 2015. Whereas Ms. Paredes was best known as a long-standing personal aide to First Lady Jackeline Kennedy. Whereas Ms. Paredes, who first arrived in the United States in 1948, accompanying the Dominican ambassador to the United States, began working for John F. Kennedy, the young congressman from Massachusetts, in 1952, thus beginning a lifelong professional and personal relationship with the Kennedy family. Whereas Mrs. Paredes became a lifelong resident of Washington, D.C. and was among the first Dominican to reside in Washington, D.C. Whereas upon Senator Kennedy's election to the presidency, Mrs. Paredes became an American citizen and accompanied the first family to the White House and was employed as Mrs. Kennedy's personal assistant. And whereas her role was a noteworthy one, as she was the first White House staff member in history to be of Hispanic descent and the sole Hispanic in the inner circle of Camelot. Whereas Ms. Paredes, also known as Provi, as was known by the Kennedy family, was a friend and trusted confidant that for 2 generations of Kennedys maintained a close relationship with the First Lady throughout her life. And whereas after the assassination of President Kennedy, she became an employee of Senators Robert F. Kennedy and Senator Edward M. Kennedy, and was the only person to have served such a distinction to work for all 3 Kennedy brothers. Resolved by the Council of the District of Columbia that this resolution may be cited as the Providencia Paredes Recognition Resolution of 2015. The Council of the District of Columbia recognizes and honors Providencia Paredes for her historic commitment to public service. Thank you.
Up next, we have a chairman of the Special Olympics and close family friend, Thimothy Shriver.
Thank you. Okay, it's last but not least. Until the open mic comes, I'm the last thing you've got to worry about. So let me say, first of all, I think if we can imagine Provi right now, I think she'd be saying, Gustavo, did I have to go all the way to heaven to get you to church? church on Sunday? Come on, raise your hand. You gotta grow up now, man. Who could ever forget the sound of the voice of Providencia Paredes? For us as children, it was part boss, part mother, part interrogator, part fan. At some points we thought it was part bird, but there was never any mistake about who was on the other end of the phone, or who was calling from inside the house, or across the field, or above the sound of a loud cocktail party. Dimi, where is Gustavo? Where is Gustavo? Tell him to come in here right away. When we were young, Provi was in charge of everything that mattered in life. She was in charge of our schedules. She was in charge of our play. She was the one who basically allowed us to break rules. And of course, she was in charge of our food. Her voice meant childhood. It meant order. In the words of the great poet who we saw on the program today, County Cullen, she was a rendezvous with life. And the food. I asked Caroline, and she said that her father always used to say that Provi was much smarter than the Secretary of State, Dean Rusk. Apparently, although I never saw it, he gave her a pillow saying exactly that on the pillow. Both President Kennedy and Jackie had such extraordinary respect for her intelligence, her judgment, her heart, her sense of humor, her loyalty. He thought she made the best scrambled eggs, fish chowder, and of course daiquiris. Those were his favorites. We children feasted on similar delicacies: peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, chocolate chip cookies, pancakes, fried eggs. We learned one of life's most important lessons early. It is pointless to resist wonderful things. Provi didn't just make food, she made family, she made happiness, she made power, she made mischief, she made us all delight. Why resist Provi? It was fruitless. She remained loyal to the family, as you've all heard, taking care of generations of us, some of us here today, Kathleen and Will Smith, and so many others who wished they could have been. John, in particular, I remember making her crazy with his messes and his mistakes and his forgettings, and mostly with his wild happiness. But his sly and mischievous grins were met by Provi with hers too. It was as though they understood one another. She was his match. He would try to get away with things, and she would catch him. They both delighted in their respective efforts to create order from a simple delight in living.